What's up guys, back here again with another Tackle Tuesday. Today, talking about the shaky head. You know, this is a tactic that many people love to use just because it puts fish in the boat. It's my favorite way to finesse fish for that reason. It's easy to fish, and the best way is to keep this bait simple. I stay with two weights. I like to use a 3/16 ounce and a 1/4 ounce. And I like to use the 3/16 most of the time. It's your most natural approach. You know, if it's a rough day on the water or if it's windy, or you're fishing maybe deeper water, you know, that's when I go with the 1/4 ounce. That way you might have a little bit more feel, it might get down there quicker, and it's easier to use on those kind of days. In all other situations, I'm going to use the lighter head. It keeps it more natural, it looks better, and it just catches more fish. So when rigging up a shaky head, or when even buying them, I like to completely stay away from your screw locks. And this is just a stand-up jig head, but it's the only screw lock head I got. There's that, and then here's a shaky head that I use. You know, I just like the plain heads with, you know, maybe a little keeper down here. Whenever you have that screw lock, you know, you just create a smaller gap between your hook point and the front of your bait. You know, you have maybe 1/4 of an inch with the screw lock, but with this other head with no screw lock on it, you're up to 1/2 inch maybe. You have the room between your eye of your hook and the point of your hook, which is a lot more. And it's the same thing when you're fishing an EWG hook versus a straight shank hook. You know, the EWG hook, the line tie is in line with the hook point, and you're gonna hook less fish that way versus using a straight shank hook, because that hook sticks up from the line tie and you have all that gap in there. You know, whenever I fish with it, it seems like most of the fish, you get them in the top of the mouth and you get a decent amount of hook in them. Whenever you're fishing with the screw lock, you know, you might miss out on bites. I never fish with the screw lock, even if I'm just out messing around or pond fishing. Anytime that I'm fishing, I like to fish like I would be in a tournament. I feel like that's what makes you better, is to always fish the best you can. So in that, I always use the ones without the screw lock. Now, you might think that you lose more plastics, and you might, but it'll catch more fish. Even if it helps you catch one more fish in the day, you know, that fish could be a 6 or 7 pounder. You know, that's a huge difference in your day. I don't want to risk losing any fish at all. I already get mad the way it is, so, you know, I like to keep my hookup ratio as high as I can. That's how I do it. Now the worms, you know, I stay between 5 and 7 inches on the worms. You know, you can use a little finesse worm like this one, or up to a 6 3/4 inch like the one next to it. You know, those are both watermelon red, got the flakes in them, kind of a greenish color. I like to stick to a brown or green worm, and you know, that's just the natural approach part of it. And you know, I feel like that's just what puts more fish in the boat, is the natural presentation. That's why I keep the weight light, and that's why I keep the colors natural. You know, if you're having a real tough day, you know, bluebird skies, no wind, go down to the 5 inch. You know, if it's a more aggressive day, you want to catch bigger fish, use the 6.5 or 7 inch worm. I love the zoom worms. You know, Strike King makes great finesse baits. You know, I just got some Trigger X, some Field & Stream ones. Also, the Berkley Havoc Bottom Hopper is a great bait. It's real soft, I like it. That's the whole goal with, you know, stuff like this and finesse fishing, is to stay natural, stay, you know, lifelike size, and that's what catches the fish. So now that you got, you know, your light head, your natural looking worm, now you gotta have something to throw it on. So what I use is a medium light. This one is a 7-foot medium light rod. You know, I like to use a medium too, so a 7-foot medium or medium light. I use a size 40 reel. So with that rod and reel, I like to use 8-pound braid. My leader is going to be 10-pound fluorocarbon. Now some guys like to go down to 6 or 8 pound tests, but I really don't feel like you need to do that. You know, your bait, you're fishing on the bottom, you know, you're around rocks or structure maybe, you know, around here in the Ozarks, you're always going to be around rocks. So, you know, you're pulling it on the bottom. I feel like the visibility of your line isn't a big issue because you're pulling that bait along the bottom, your line stays close to the bottom. You know, if you stir up some mud, I mean, you know, what's the difference of that and your little line down there? Like, I feel like going down to 8 or 6 pound test, you know, isn't going to do anything instead of using 10. You want the 10 a little bit stronger. It's still really light line. So now that you got your line for your leader, this is Seaguar Red Label Fluorocarbon. I'm going to tie the Crazy Alberto knot. And I have used different knots in the past, but this is the one that I'm going to try to start using more. It's a great knot, used by lots of pros. I'm not just, you know, using this just because I like to tie it. No, it's because lots of pros use it. And I trust a lot of them. If they're a pro, they're probably a pro for a reason. So what you're going to do is you're going to double your fluorocarbon, take your braid, stick it through the hole that you made, hold that there. Now you're going to wrap your braid around your fluorocarbon 7 times. 3, 4, 7. Once you get to the bottom, you're going to wrap back up to the hole. Alright, once you get around 7 times, you should be back to where you started, kind of. And you want to make sure your braid, your little tag into braid, goes out the hole the same way that it came in. If you went in coming through the top, you want the line going out through the top. You want them coming through the same way. So now you just grab both your lines and pull them tight. And that right there creates about the smallest possible knot that you can have. You know, you want to cut the tag ends, not too short, because you might, you know, you want to leave a little bit of room for in case it slips. You know, so you pull you off a leader. Usually, you know, I'll pull the line like 3 times, about like that. That's how long I like to keep my line. You know, I like to keep it long enough to where I can retie several times throughout the day. Because when you're fishing a shaky head, you're pulling it through rocks a lot. You got 10 pound test. You know, your line can get frayed, so I like to retie a lot with that. Now, you want to tie a knot to the shaky head, and the knot that I like to tie is the double shindo. And I didn't make that up. That is a name by Gerald Swindle. There's a Wired to Fish video where he ties it, doesn't know the name to it, calls it a double shindo, and I've used it, and it's pretty great. So what you're going to do is you're going to double your line, stick it through like you're doing a Palmer knot. So there you go. You got your line in there. Now you want to pinch your line where you have some of it hanging out up here. What you want to do with that line is you want to wrap it around back down towards your bait. Wrap it around your line 5 times. So once you got it around 5 times, you're going to stick your little double loop, your little tag in through the hole at the bottom of the bait. So now you got your main line and tag in up top, and then now you have your double line tag in at the bottom. So you're going to pull your double line at the bottom just to make it tight, then you're going to pull your main line, tighten up the knot. Really makes a pretty knot. It's real strong. You know, people say the Palmer knot cuts the line. So, you know, I think it's safe to stay with this knot. You know, you pull on it, there's no give in that knot whatsoever. So now that I've got everything clipped up, have my shaky head, double shindo, 10 pound fluorocarbon, Crazy Alberto knot, 8 pound braid, 7 pound medium light rod, size 40 reel. You know, some guys like to throw it on a bait caster just because they like to upsize it or whatever. You know, to me, fishing a shaky head is a finesse style, and that's the way I like to keep it. I like to keep the light head, natural looking worm, and light line. You know, if I'm going up to a bait caster using 15 to 20 pound line maybe, and using a worm, I'm just going to fish on a Texas rig or swing head or something. Throwing a shaky head, that's how it's going to be on the spinning rod. So I didn't want to talk too much detail about how to fish it because there's no limits on how to fish it. You know, you can fish this thing anywhere at any time. You can fish it in ponds, lakes, rivers, wherever you want, and it will catch fish. You know, you can fish this bait from 1 to 35 foot deep, or deeper if you want, you know. I'm not a guy who typically fishes that deep, so we'll just say like 1 to 20. You know, the way I fish it, I'll fish around docks, like to fish around brush piles. You know, we're in the Ozarks, lots of rocks. Like to just cast it until you feel some bigger rocks, and then you just kind of fish it slow and shake it around those. You know, it's just a really great bait to fish however you want it, wherever you want it. It's just the style that I like to keep it, which is finesse. It can either look like, you know, a crawfish standing there with his pinchers out, or it can look like a shad, you know, digging in the bottom, maybe eating some algae. So there you go with the shaky head. Keep it simple, keep it finesse, and it will put some fish in the boat. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you try this out. I hope it helps you to catch some fish, and I know it will if you use it right. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.